Welcome to the Dreams Are Real podcast, where we aim to ignite the fire that allows you to unleash your greatest potential. I'm your host, Dan McPherson, and I'm on a mission to help you own your story on the way to building your ideal life. The first step toward achieving your dreams is to overcome the momentum of zero. Take a step and let that motion dispel the emotions of fear, worry, or self-doubt. No matter where you are in your life or career, only you can make that choice. The good news, you've got this. Why? Because dreams are real. Let's dive in. All right, welcome to the Dreams Are Real podcast. I am excited to have my guests today, my very first guests on the podcast. I have Mike and Mike with Dog Mite Games. These guys are great friends of mine, and they run a fantastic business here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit about that and a lot about how their dreams started, have changed, and have become real over time, and even what the future looks like. Welcome, guys.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Man. We're here.
We are here.
We're here. Right? Exactly. It is that you guys are the very first guests, so thank me for breaking the show in.
Yeah. Inaugurals.
I love breaking things in.
Fantastic. So as today we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. And I know a good amount about you. The audience might know a little bit or nothing about you. So I want to give them a chance to dig in a little. How do you respond when others ask you what you do?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I guess it depends who's asking and how deep they want to get into it. What we do is it's pretty niche industry.
It's weird. We do weird stuff. Manufacturing, I think, is my safe bet. I always
say,
we manufacture wooden gaming accessories. I just kind of leave it at that and see what they say.
Yeah.
Watch their body language a little bit.
Yeah.
If it's a taxi cab driver and an Uber driver, I just say I run a wood shop and we make small, pretty boxes. That's the blanket one. Now, if I have time and
you can go all the way down that rabbit hole into tabletop gaming accessory, niche market, woodworking, manufacturing stuff. So.
I hear Mike say this a lot, that think Dungeons and Dragons, we make stuff for that. We make boxes for that, to hold people's dice and pencils and...
It's a weird elevator pitch.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, it adjusts depending on your audience, right?
Exactly.
I think so many things do, and you guys do make very pretty boxes and other things. So now if you're asking an audience who maybe is pretty receptive, now what do you say that you do?
Really, we're an advanced manufacturer. We make high-end luxury items for the tabletop gaming industry. Everything from wooden dice to trays to hold tokens for more advanced board games. We make our own board games. We do a lot of things. Our product range numbers in the
almost 20,
I think.
Like 20 different products.
And each one of those is fully customizable. We have 16 to 20 different woods that we use on any given day, and hundreds and hundreds of artistic sculpts that me or an illustrator drew, then Mike sculpted, and then we cut on CNCs.
So really toys.
Yeah.
I love, here's the complicated answer.
Right.
We make toys.
Yes.
That's the simple answer.
Like Santa's gnomes.
That's what we say when it gets stressful.
Right?
Just keep in mind, we're just making toys.
Not saving lives.
Not saving lives. Doesn't always work, though.
Right?
It doesn't work at the stress relief.
Maybe it saves imaginary fantasy game lives.
Right.
That's fantasy lives matter. Hashtag fantasy lives
matter. Well, and apparently it can be pretty complex to make toys.
Yes.
More so than you thought it would be?
Yeah. 300% more so than we thought.
Really complicated toys for adults.
And we really complicated for ourselves, too. It's not like... it just became that way. We had a lot to do with the overcomplication of our business.
Good, and I want to dig into that. First, I want to take a step back a few years to a question maybe most might not know the answer to, which is this: what was your dream when you were a kid? When you were a little kid, what did you want to be? What did you dream of? Were you walking on the moon, being a firefighter, riding dinosaurs? Like, what did you think you'd be doing now?
I wanted to fight fires on the moon. Actually, I wanted to be a comic book artist. That was always my dream when I was young.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's oddly similar in weird ways. One of my brothers went to school. His roommate was one of the original artist for comic books, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He worked on.
Oh, cool.
I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle when I was
See, both answers in one. Look how that is.
He would give me. I'd send him my drawings when I was 10 years old, and he'd critique them and come back, and it was fantastic having that mentor, even just from an early age. It was interesting.
Very cool. How about you?
I was like a computer nerd, programming BASIC as a kid. That always drew me, but like a lot of creation, like with the mind and the hands, and kind of how that merges. I know a keyboard isn't really the same as a hammer, but kind of like that, the physicality of
It's a virtual
building
hammer.
things.
Yeah.
Exactly. Virtual
Close.
hammer.
Nowadays, it's close, right?
It is, yeah, or a Ninja Turtle. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So when did that change, or did it really? I guess you guys kind of followed a little close to that, but I find with many of the people that we would have as guests, many of my clients, that they had dreams when they were younger, and then maybe they got smaller or they changed pretty significantly.
Yeah. Well, I went to art school. I got a master's in fine arts and painting.
So you followed that dream from the beginning.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to be a fantasy illustrator, and I didn't go that route just because I wasn't as good at that as I was in analog painting. And then I became a professor in that field, and until I met Mike and we decided to put out a terrible drinking game. Yeah, that's really when it changed, probably.
you employ a fantasy illustrator now. So
Correct.
That's kind of like you skipped the step. So
It doesn't feel like I'm living vicariously through her, though. It makes me more jealous than anything. But
Well,
that's
and you're
all right.
kind of doing fantasy illustration on wood.
Yeah.
That's,
She's better than me, so now I don't even do the drawings anymore. So,
oh, is that
Yeah.
a little disappointing?
yeah, no, not really.
you're more like creative direction.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, we'll call it empowering, right?
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
that is,
Yeah.
right? How about you?
I followed the tech route, went to a bunch of tech schools, programmed, started my own software company for a stretch, kind of got bored with it eventually, and then went down this rabbit hole of gaming. And oddly enough, it combines a lot of the technical stuff, which I have a background in, with the creative side. And these days, now we're dealing with strategy and marketing and a lot more of those high-level concepts that were built on the skills that we had when we were younger, that we brought to the business.
Awesome. I hear myself saying, how about you? And I'm recognizing that as this is audio, that our audience may not be aware of who you and you is. And why I'm doing that. I'm doing it because you're Mike and Mike. Mm-hmm. So how do you guys keep yourselves separate?
But I think we're put together, we're one, like...
We're like a whole man with both of us.
You're like the Wonder Twins?
We're like emotionally crippled separate from each other.
It's funny. No, I think we know each other more now than a lot of our significant others do at times. And certainly in business, it helps to have a partner that how they're going to react before they even do so. And I think it's been one of the real, the gifts, and one of the reasons why this company is what it is because we've gotten along so well and had similar mindsets and similar kind of creative ideas going forward.
And I always thought it was really creepy when we started finishing each other's sentences.
Mm-hmm.
That one really, I'm like, oh, this is really weird.
Yeah.
But impactful.
So do you guys go then, I know that I've taken to calling you by your last name,
Mm-hmm.
Conus, and
Yep.
by your last name, Cameron. Is that how most people refer to you?
I think in the shop, he's definitely Cameron in the shop.
Yeah.
And I'm either Mike or
The
Conus.
mics. They
Yeah,
get
the mics.
you as
The mics.
one stable human being.
Unified,
Yeah,
right?
one-
Stable
together.
human being?
Yeah.
Let's not get too
Yeah.
I was like that.
Right.
That went a little far, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did the Wonder Twins come together?
We were neighbors, basically. We lived 3 minutes apart. A mutual friend introduced us, and then we started hanging out, and that's about it. And we started playing games, basically, shortly thereafter.
It was really the beers, too.
Yeah, beers.
Drinking a lot of beers.
Yeah, we drank a lot of beers.
That's fair. That's a pretty popular pastime. I think
Yes.
I think that'll resonate with a lot of the audience for sure. So after you guys came together, how long was it before the entrepreneurial dream took hold, and how did that happen?
Well, we started off, we were playing a lot of board games. They were really complex, and we had a hard time getting our friends to play with us and play our reindeer games. But So we decided to come
I want to
up.
know, wait, who's Rudolph?
Yeah.
Don't ask.
So we were playing this really complex game based on the Game of Thrones, and it's called a living card game. You make your own decks. It's very math heavy, and oddly enough, our party-going friends didn't want to join in as often as we would like.
So that was a little too far over on the geek spectrum.
A little bit too far, yes.
Yeah,
So,
We're trying to go from like poker games to
right.
living card games.
That's skipping a lot of
The
stuff.
bridge is pretty. It's
Right.
a pretty tough bridge to cross.
So we decided to create our own game that ended up somewhere in the middle, and it was a drinking game about living on the lakes in Michigan, which is what we did. So, and that
Wow.
that
How'd that do?
good enough.
We still have we still have 200 copies in a box.
and we've made a lot of our products, and we've launched a lot of them on Kickstarter, and that was our first foray. Basically, we had planned on just making the game for our friends.
Okay.
I was going to illustrate it, Mike was going to graphic design it, and then we were both going to design the game. And then we learned about Kickstarter probably a month into that process, and that gave us an avenue to actually see if we could do something with it. I think we did $9,000
Okay.
on that first Kickstarter.
That's better than a lot of people do.
We knew every backer but two, and I think my,
Yeah.
my wonderful Aunt Linda put us over our funding goal with about 20 minutes left. So
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
know I was there.
Yep,
Day
that's right.
one.
Yep.
That's pretty fantastic
Yeah.
story, and it sounds like quite the learning experience, too.
Yes. Yeah. It was very interesting.
It's humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Right, so when you started the company, or near the beginning, maybe even as the game was coming to light, what was the dream that you had? If you were to look forward 3, 4, 5 years, what did you see through your crystal ball? I'm sure it came out just like you hoped.
I honestly just wanted to see if we could do it. Like if we could actually have a company that would have employees based off of this kind of silly little thing that we started.
Yeah, and a lot of it was, we got into like outsourcing the manufacturing and dealing with overseas suppliers and things like that. It was really interesting. I think at the time, to go back, we were going to continue making games. That was kind of the vision at that point. And then we blended the woodworking in and made such a successful early run with the woodworking that we were like, no, we found something here.
So it switched to woodworking pretty early on.
Yeah. After our second game.
Second.
We made
Your
wooden
second
accessories.
game.
Yeah.
Okay. Game.
That was called Livestock Uprising, and it was I illustrated it again. We designed it. It was about armies of farm animals that battled for control of the farm and the resources therein.
Very Orwellian.
Yes, and really linear. We were really not bad game designers. We were fine. Game design now is so cutting edge, and it's really an art form in and of itself. And we hadn't really immersed ourselves in the industry at that point, and didn't know how mediocre we were at that time.
Yeah.
Now we know much better. But oddly enough, we made little feeding troughs to hold the counters for that game, and a box to hold that game. And those got much better reception than the game
We
itself.
sold more wooden accessories than we sold copies of the game.
Right.
I still have those wooden accessories.
Yeah.
I will say that game I found to be very fun. I played it with my son, played it with my wife. I never won a single game, I don't think.
Yeah.
So wasn't maybe my game,
Right.
but it was a lot of fun, and I love those troughs actually. So and that was where the dream maybe caught fire, and you said, hey, there's something we can do over here.
Right. And I think we launched our next Kickstarter. Our third Kickstarter was a wooden product. Or fourth.
Deck box?
Dice. We did deck boxes first in the meantime, but it was really dice chests, which are
Yeah.
small little candle box design wooden boxes. And for relative sake, we did 9,000 on the game, 15,000 on the second game, and then we did 48,000 on
That's a pretty
dice
big jump.
That was the pivot point.
Right.
We were like, oh, let's stop doing this
Yeah.
and start doing this.
Yeah.
When the first item does more than both games combined.
For the last
Correct.
2 years, we
Right.
did inside on one project in 30 days.
Right.
So
that's I guess that's a good point in there, is that you're talking about 2 years. It's not like this happened overnight.
Right. The 3-year overnight success. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And we kind of view it like the game's almost aren't a part of the legitimate business as it stands today because we did such a hard pivot.
Yeah.
It was really just kind of like a 2-year-long hobby, and then we kind of stumbled into this, and then we started really driving it.
So you feel like those dice boxes were really the beginning of the business?
Yeah.
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 Even though it may not officially have been, or technically,
Right.
that's the beginning spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I guess maybe my question is better put at that point. So at the point that you were now a little bit more seasoned, you're doing a wooden product, you're figuring out, hey, this is our pivot point. What did you look forward and see then? What did you hope that it might become at that point? Now that you were probably pretty disillusioned as well after 3 years of working on this.
Yeah, I was doing it part-time.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at the college, and I think
Side hustle.
and I really wanted to stop the side hustle.
Yeah, that was one of our yearly goals.
It was.
To get us both
Doing
full-time
this
doing
full-time.
this one thing.
Yep. And I think that was it, just to see if we could actually make it into something that could support just ourselves at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you went on, have you found that running a company is different than you thought it would be at all, or
Yeah, 100%.
in what way?
Well, it's not the job you sign up for, right? It's just not. So we used to talk about if the company was successful, it would be him and I in the wood shop, maybe with a couple employees, making products by hand, and that would be it. But
Sounds like you
now-
did that for a little while.
We did that for too long, probably, until
Yeah.
someone told
Someone
us,
at this table,
someone
maybe.
at this whole table told us that for this to actually become a real business, we had to get out of the wood shop and start managing the company like the company that it was and that it could be. And that was the big change, right? Now we weren't on the table saw for 12 hours a day. We were actually in the office.
Getting business.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You can go get the business and bring it in, and then the company grows. It's
Yep.
really weird.
Talk to, or share with our audience maybe how that transition went. I remember how difficult that conversation was.
Right.
And the looks of, I don't know if terror is the right word.
Right.
Horror, maybe?
Right,
Yeah.
resistance, whatever, that were on your face when we talked about that. But talk about that transition, because I think it's an important one for anyone who's going to be an entrepreneur to keep in mind that at some point, like you said, it's going to not, like you said, Conis, it's not going to be the job that you signed up for,
Right.
but it is going to be, it's going to be important, it's going to be the vision you signed up for, but maybe your role shifts.
Yeah.
How did that, in practice, work for you?
It was easily the biggest change that we've made in the company's history, and one of the most impactful decisions was us actually getting out of the shop. It's tough to do. I think at first you find yourself not realizing what you need to do that day. You're overseeing people as opposed to doing the work yourself. Yeah, go get business. How do you actually do that? And how do you fill that time and make it worthwhile and valuable for the company?
And the plethora of skills that it takes to do that, like from time management to, the manufacturing process to like, everything under the sky that we had no idea how to do when we started doing that. We made that transition. So a lot of it, I think, for me anyway, was learning a whole new skill set, and being persistent and being willing to kind of overcome your own obstacles to get there. When you're going like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just some woodworker. But you know what, that means that you know the product, you know where it came from, you know the history, and you can learn everything else.
Yeah, and Mike and I often talked about how everything that we had done up to our lives was really just creative problem solving. And I think that exists to this day. That's really the power and the strength that we have, that where it doesn't matter if it's figuring out how to deal with a problem employee or some supply line problem that we're having, or selling the product. It's all about creative problem solving, just like it was when I was painting and you were programming, or we in the wood shop together.
I think that's a great understanding, that really it pulls together into something that is a little bit more simple. And I think, Cameron, your observation that, look, this is us stepping out of something we're really comfortable with and stepping into something that we don't know, and then for you guys to put that together, that even with that, it falls under the same umbrella. We just need to learn some new specific skills. That sounds like a challenging transition.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting now because after doing it for so many years, I thrive on that.
Yeah.
That idea of we have to be on our game, like new marketing. Like we're doing marketing every week. We're doing new product development. We're we're changing manufacturing process, and that forces you to get like an agility that becomes essential to keep your business thriving. So you have to be like forward-looking and willing to change and willing to challenge yourself and challenge your employees in the business to keep moving forward.
Yeah, for me, that's why it's still rewarding to do, even though the job isn't what we signed up for. It still feels like a creative pursuit to me, even though we're running a business.
And it seems like, too, that in the beginning, you're doing like the one thing that you might love most or be most passionate about in that moment, and you have this broader vision, and then you realize, wait, I have to learn some new skills like we talked about, but I also have to step back and manage a bunch of different processes at the same time or concurrently. And I'm guessing there's some challenge with that, too, just listening to you talk about it.
Sure, that change doesn't occur overnight, and I think that's what really saves us is we didn't go from that fourth Kickstarter to where we are now in a day. There was a lot of things that happened in between. Got our first employee, then we get our 10th employee, and it grows slowly over time. Thank goodness.
one emergency at a time.
Right.
That's good. So, in thinking about all the things that you've learned, and you just listed a few, what's the biggest lesson you think you've learned along the way?
Just keep going.
Persistence.
Yep.
Calvin Coolidge said, "Persistence alone is omnipotence." And I think being an entrepreneur, most people are a pretty smart person to be able to get there and see that vision and believe in yourself and believe that you can learn these skills. And the really important part is that drive, that just keep going. Every time you fail, every time you get kicked to the ground, or you get success, you're looking forward. And you just have to keep that fire burning no matter what.
You will get kicked to the ground.
You will.
Repeatedly.
Absolutely will. and if it were easy, everyone would do it.
Yep.
And when we encounter like very difficult times or situations, I always go back to that. Like, look, when you're encountering difficulty, it tells you that you're onto something, because a lot of people can't live through it. They can't make it. They can't push and go that extra mile to get there. And so for me, that's an indicator that we're really onto something that could be really successful.
Yeah, that's great. It seems to resonate with both of you. That just it's that sheer willpower to push through.
Yes.
That's good. What's something you wish you'd known when you started?
How to properly price items. That's
wow.
That's.
Talk about that. That's maybe an important topic for our audience.
One of our biggest selling products, we probably underpriced by half. And we're paying that price and have for a long time. Probably set us back at least a year in growth.
Yeah.
And it just was the perfect storm of one of our biggest selling products ever, one of our most complex products, and just really giving it away for almost nothing.
So why do you think that happens?
Because you're eager, and you undervalue yourself, and you're eager to get yourself out there. And it was a good idea, and we knew it was a good idea, and we thought, all right, let's get it down to $49 because more people will want it then.
Yeah.
And we were unfortunately right.
And you're talking a scenario where we had 3 employees at the time,
right?
And we were like just struggling to like grow and get our brand out there. Made that decision anticipating that, hey, maybe we'd make a little bit of money, be a little bit popular, and it just so happened that it was enormously popular, like the biggest product we'd ever created. And
now you were saying, let's put that in perspective. You said 9,000, 48,000.
400,000.
That's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, in a month, in 1 month.
Woo!
and I think what you had talked about kind of it leads into a bit of like imposter syndrome. We talk about that a lot, where we're undervaluing ourselves, and it's a mistake, and you have to make those mistakes to learn from them. I like to say like we're slow learners, so we have to make like the really stupid mistakes and really pay for them. But you need to combine that persistence. You go, oh wow, we made this terrible mistake. It's really horrific, but we're going to power through it, and we're going to deliver it, and we're going to take the loss, and we're going to get smarter and better. Yep. Sure, it sets us back a year, but you know what? The future's looking really good.
And you won't make that mistake again.
We will never make that mistake again.
Guarantee we will never make that mistake again.
So other than suffering for a year or more of pain, how would you suggest someone get around this idea of pricing themselves too low?
Well, we talk a lot about imposter syndrome, right? The feeling that You shouldn't be here because you've never done it before. And the thing about imposter syndrome is it's correct. You are an imposter because you're doing something that no one's ever done before, including yourself. And realize that it's okay to make those mistakes. It sucks when you do, but just keep going and find a way around it. It's just another problem that you have to solve.
Yeah, and even to this day, I still have those moments where, something goes sideways or things don't play out how we anticipated, and then you still have that voice in your head going, oh, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. But then you have to realize, like, well, hold on. You got 20 employees in a multi-million-dollar business. Like, you do know what you're doing. At some point, there's a transition there, but it's gradual. It doesn't happen overnight. And then you still occasionally get those thoughts of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. What do we do? And then persistence again. You come back and you look at what you've accomplished and where you're going, and be very like forward thinking, forward looking, and just power through all of it.
Yeah, something Dan says often to us is motion trumps emotion.
Yeah.
And that really helps when you start to feel that way, that you can't do it. And when you wake up feeling daunted and think you can't get through the day, it's just get up and move. Get in the shower.
Move.
Make your bed. Get in your car and go to work.
Yep.
And just get out of your own head and get to work on the problems.
Yeah, that's good. And it seems to me, even listening to you, that it can be, okay, we do know what we're doing, but we know what we're doing for the things we've done, and we're heading into the unknown where we don't know what we're doing. So we're always on the edge of that transition, right?
Everything's easy if you know how to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's how you make breakthrough changes. You have to be out of your comfort zone all the time. You have to keep pushing yourself, because it's nice to sit in the comfort zone and go like, yeah, hey, this is great, but do I really want that? I don't. I want to push through all of that. It's just to see how far we can go.
Right.
Just more out of curiosity than anything. I'm like, wow, this worked. Let's double down. Let's go harder at it.
And so we're not bored.
Right.
You gotta keep doing something.
Boredom doesn't seem to be one of the things you encounter very often.
No, that's well said.
Are there any particularly useful resources that have made it easier to chase your dreams? I think a lot of entrepreneurs are looking for a magic pill, and I don't know that exists. But are there tools or resources or anything like that?
Venture capitalists?
That certainly helps.
Mentorship, I think, helps quite a bit. Dan, you've been very helpful, I know, in our formation
I appreciate
and our
that.
growth.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Other family and friends that have mentored me in different ways.
Yeah, and even like now we're integrating with the business community, and so we're finding other entrepreneurs or other former business owners, or people in the government that support with finance programs and things like that. So there is support out there, and it's at the right time. You're going to feel like you need to find it. You need to reach out, and there is tremendous value in that. Because
what's the best way to go do something like that? That probably seems pretty intimidating to a lot of people to even hear, go connect with people in the government or go connect with the business community. For many of our audience are creatives. They're artists and like yourself, gamers, people, musicians. How do they make those connections, or what's the softest, easiest way to get into that world?
I think you throw out a lot of nets, and really, it's not that hard. The people that are out there in local community commercial growth organizations, they're eager to meet people. So they're willing to jump into that net if you just throw it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And just reach out to, your Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, like local, like here in Ann Arbor, it's Ann Arbor Spark is our local, business forum. So we're there all the time. We didn't know them a year ago, and suddenly now we know everyone in every department over there, right?
Right.
And they're intentionally there for that support. They're there to help you, guide you through those decisions and give you advice and some mentorship, and kind of, basically the support structure is in the best interest of the business and the community. So use it.
And the network's enormous. I mean, they've been operating for years and years and have an amazing network of anything that you could need.
Right.
Book help to accountants to production mentors. It's reach out to whatever you can.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of those resources at like local colleges, community or otherwise as well?
Some of them are based there.
Yeah, we've talked to people at our local community college. Yeah.
It's varying degrees, and every business and every individual and every sort of program is different. And I think, to your point, go to all of them. hit them all. You know, there's nothing to lose.
When you say go to all of them, do you mean physically show up? Do you mean send them an email, make a phone call?
Just get in touch with as many people as you can.
Yeah. Emails are great. Like, it's amazing how the response rate we get from just sending out an email.
Yeah, and in the midst of all that maelstrom of information, you're going to find the right person or the right organization that's willing to help you at the right time.
So to keep it bite-sized, would you maybe recommend for someone who's looking to make these connections, just do a couple a day, or would you more say sit down and swallow it like a pill and send out 50 of them in one day and be done with it?
Oh, it's up to you. It depends on how much time you have, but
yeah. We just honestly, we did it by need. So
right.
Oh, we need help with this
right.
piece of paper.
So how do we find that, right?
I find the organization that has that, and then you meet people and they're like, oh, I know Jim Bob over here is really good at that, and this guy's really good at that. You should talk to him. And then once you get integrated with that, the recommendation is it's really easy when people know who you are and they have your best interest at heart.
One thing I'd like to add too is one of the most useful resources is your own industry. And we go to trade shows all the time. We have connections within the industry, and a lot of times you're surprised. You think that they're very successful businessmen and have been the whole time, and you'll find out that they're just like you. That
they're just people.
They're just people, and a lot of them started in a garage just like we did, and had to figure out a lot of things just like we are, and maybe they're 3 years ahead of us in doing that. And just reach out and be yourself, and talk freely about things, and you'll find out a lot of info.
I think that's a great point, right? Whether someone's a successful artist or a successful musician or they're a manufacturer, whoever it is, they began somewhere and they didn't begin at running this multi-million-dollar company.
Right.
Now, that said, that means you guys are people too.
Mm-hmm.
And you're running a multi-million-dollar company.
Mm-hmm.
You might be the example that people would look at and say, wow, they had a dream, they pursued it, they've got it, they're what inspire me to dream. So when people talk about you guys that way, of that you're the example that dreams are real, how does that make you feel?
I say, wait, it's too soon. Just hold off. Give us another year or 3.
And that's to your point. There's gradients of that. When you're really small, you're looking at the guy 2 steps up, and then when you get there, you're looking at the guy 3 steps up. So there's always further to go, more to improve on, and it can be really difficult to stop and really look at what you've achieved.
We're terrible at it.
We're really
we're awful. We're always like.
You think it's important to do that though?
At times.
Evidently, we don't, because we don't do it enough. But yes, it is clear, especially in the harder days. It is clear that it's necessary to stop, take a breath, and realize, like, hey, we've gotten this far. We're doing a good job thus far. We can keep going.
You're a long way from that garage.
Yeah, we are. It's hard to remember, actually. Yeah.
You're a long way from being in the shop every day.
Yeah.
Rarely.
We're terrible now. Office hands. Don't allow either of us on the saw. That's what we tell all our employees. So we have no idea how to do it any longer.
And my curiosity is like what's next? We're still actively running the business, but say we double in size again, are we even in the building?
Right.
At what point I find that really interesting.
And you moved from that garage to how big is the building?
14,000 square foot light industrial manufacturing.
Wow.
And
we're recording on site today, so this is just an extra room on site.
Our recording studio.
Right. Wait, you have a recording studio. So how does that work? How does that fit into your business?
Well, we do a lot of Kickstarters, so we do a lot of videos. We do Facebook Live stuff, and we're going to be doing an actual play where we sit down and play D&D with me and Mike and some of our other employees.
That's pretty fantastic.
It's really
that
cool.
sounds like a piece of the dream.
Yeah.
Right. You're building a business by playing games. That's okay, right?
It's pretty crazy.
So now we have these stages of dreams in people's lives, right? We have the young kids, like we talked about, being a Ninja Turtle, whatever it might be. You have sort of
working on that one.
The beginning of the entrepreneurial journey, where I think many people are, and a lot of people get stuck. Then you have this next spot where you're continuing to dream, where, like you say, maybe it's tough to look back and say, wait a minute, I remember that dream I had, and we've actually accomplished that. But we're looking forward with this future lens. What do you see? What's the dream for Dogmite Games looking forward?
Stability and controlled growth yeah.
We want to triple in size inside of 5 to 6 years. And from a personal perspective, I want to do something else. Like, I want to go further. I want to make this as big and as great as it can be. and then go on to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing.
Like brain surgery, or do you
Probably
Ninja Turtle.
Ninja Turtle.
Ninja Turtle? That's the moment, right?
Yeah, and I'm curious about like other industries, and once you get to a point you run a business long enough, if you could go back and start again in whatever you wanted.
Oh, and not make the same mistakes.
And with the network and the people that you know, and like all the knowledge, and it would just be such a different kind of journey.
Sort of like that whole idea of if you could be 16 or 18 years old with all the knowledge you have now, except that you kind of can.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
And we get asked that a lot, and I don't know, like with a lot of like the business guys and the investors are like, do you have an exit? Do you want to sell it? Like honestly, I really don't know. We want to just see how far we can take it.
I want to see what it is in 2-3 years before I can kind of make that.
Right.
You talk to us a lot about keeping our head up and looking to the future, a year down the road, 2 years down the road. 3 years is just a little far beyond my sight right now. I'm looking at a year and a half, and hoping to make this as stable with controlled growth and bringing on another 10, 15 employees and really making it hum.
I want a scooter, like an electric scooter I can drive around.
Just drive around the whole shop.
Yeah,
That'd
be cool.
That would be pretty cool. It's pretty amazing when you think that not only are your dreams coming true in their own way, but you're helping the dreams of many of your employees.
Yeah.
You're helping the dreams of you have close to 100,000 followers out there that you're helping bring their dreams to life, whether it be by playing a game, being an entrepreneur, working here and learning a skill. How's that feel?
Well, we actually talk about it a lot, like what kind of business we want to run, and it's important to us that people enjoy working here and that they feel fulfilled and that they're being mentored in their own way and learning more skills, and we really try and push them quite a bit, especially like our team leads, for instance, are learning a really heavily lean manufacturing principles right now. And I told them, I'm like, look, I hope you're all here in 10 years from now, but if you're not, these are wonderful skills to have in any production capacity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And learn them and dive in.
Yeah, we try to persist that culture of kind of, it's not a factory. We're giving people control and some autonomy, and oddly enough, people love that. They embrace it, and then they rise to the occasion and the challenge, and they get better, and it makes everybody better. And so it's like, we often tell them, like, we're all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, guys. Like, if you got the paddle and you row in the opposite direction, it's a problem. So get on board, get in with the culture, and we're going to go to crazy places on this boat, off the edge of the world, like the Vikings.
I think the story of your business is fantastic. I've been honored to be a part of it. And before we wrap up, I want to take a moment and ask just a few of more rapid questions that are this idea that leaders must dream. And I find that so many entrepreneurs get so laser focused on what they're doing that maybe they forget some of the separate dreams. So this is designed to poke around in that area a little bit and think a little bit differently.
Poke away, Dan.
So, I certainly have been known for asking questions. These are a little bit different, and they're more to find out about you guys.
Go first or second?
You guys personally. So we can alternate if you like. So first, what's the most exciting or adventurous thing that you've ever done?
Well, the easy answer is this company, but probably the more romantic answer is
And you're very romantic.
Mountain biking on a mountain in Colorado. It didn't end well for the bike, especially.
But for you,
which was
you're
rental.
here, so
I'm still here. Yeah.
That's pretty adventurous.
Yeah.
Was it? I assume it was a pretty big mountain.
It was
being
insane,
in Colorado,
and I was pretty active. I mountain biked a lot for a number of years, and thought, hey, I can take on this Colorado mountain. And yeah, about halfway down, I found out that wasn't true.
Well, you could take it on.
And I was charged for the rental bike.
So is there a round 2 coming in the future?
No, not at this age. I run now. That's enough.
How about you, Cameron?
Ooh, for me, probably leaving Canada and immigrating to the U.S. I've been here for 12 years. Basically left, family, friends, and everything to kind of pursue pursue stuff here in the U.S. and it's turned out really well. And I've recently gotten a citizenship, so I went through
Congratulations.
visa stuff.
Welcome to the
stuff,
U.S.
and then America.
That's right.
And
We have a worldwide audience, so I'm sure they'll be excited about moving from one country to another. That's pretty adventurous.
yeah, and then now that I'm a citizen, now I'm running a business, now I'm employing people. It's kind of like a microcosm of the American dream, as cliche as that sounds.
Mhm.
That's really cool. What is something that you wish you were good at but aren't yet?
Singing or the fiddle? I really like
Wow,
to play the fiddle.
the fiddle. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough. I wasn't sure if you were going to pick the fiddle or the washboard, but I'm glad it's the fiddle.
Spoons.
That's
Spoons is third.
That's great. So singing or the fiddle, or singing while playing the fiddle, maybe.
Sure, that'd be great.
So
One step at a time, Dan.
So when
One
we do
step at a
part
time.
2 a year from now,
Yeah.
you'll be able to demonstrate that for us live. Cameron
No
says
comments.
yes.
No comment. No comment.
All right, Cameron, how about you?
I think downtime and relaxing. I'm really bad at that, and I struggle with it because it's so successful in day to day and in entrepreneurship. And we talked about persistence and Calvin Coolidge and that drive, and it can be really challenging to turn that off and to find a good venue with which to do so.
Yeah, you're terrible at it.
I'm really bad at it.
This idea of balance and calm does not really
No.
exist in your world.
Like I wake up at 4 and I'm like up and I'm going.
So when you do relax in those rare moments once a year for 5 minutes, what do you like to do?
Whiskey.
See, we can't. It becomes full circle from the beginning, right? There's beers and now there's whiskey. Got it.
I like my thing is going to a different country on vacation and not having any ability to take phone calls or do anything like that for a brief period of time.
Well, speaking of that, what's your dream travel destination?
I'm gonna go to Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. And any particular reason, or just because it sounds cool?
It sounds cool, and they have these like little huts on the beach, and like they're isolated, and there's the inability to get cell reception.
Nice.
That would be really cool for like 48 hours.
Right. So 48 hours in Costa Rica with some whiskey,
Yeah.
and then you'll be like vibrating because you need your phone, and you'll
Yes.
be going to the nearest airport to get back. I gotcha.
Fabricating game accessories out of sticks.
That's great. How about you, Jonas?
I want to see some fjords. I've always wanted to see a fjord. I like the word. I like the cold.
Hard to say.
Yeah, it is.
I like the
I just-
word, and I like the
something
cold.
about that monumentality and feeling how small you are as an actual human being, I think would be nice to feel in person.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have this tendency to grow as a human being, and some of this comes from food. So
Nice.
I like to say leaders must eat too, right? So what's your favorite food experience, or the favorite meal that you've had?
I just got into the smoked meats. I'm somewhat of an accomplished griller, I'd like to say, and I just started smoking my own meats. St. Louis ribs.
Ooh.
A couple of weeks ago, I did a pork butt and shoulder over the weekends, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Nice.
Whiskey is also involved.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course.
of course.
That's a given, right?
I love the patient focus you have to have for smoking meats. Then it usually includes some beers for over about 8 to 10 hours.
So some beers, some
It's-
whiskey.
It's the perfect
some
marriage.
salsa,
Perfect
right?
marriage of a lot of things, Dan.
That's
If you could smoke some meat on a fjord,
Yeah.
your life would be complete.
while making while doing some art on a game accessory.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
True multitasking, right? How about you, Cameron? What about your favorite meal or food experience?
I'm a Subway guy. I could eat Subway 3 times a day all day long.
Really, culinary
Yeah.
master. Got it.
Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite sandwich at Subway?
Anything from Subway.
Any-
And then
anything.
it's cheap, so then I can buy cigars.
And
So-
we're not getting paid for the advertising here, but it works out
Subway.
well.
Eat fresh.
That's right. Eat fresh. That's right.
I never wanted to be a sandwich artist.
No.
No. That's the only kind of artist you didn't
I was
want to
not
be,
interested in.
right? So, last one. What do you hope or believe will be the most exciting invention of the next 30 years?
Self-driving cars I'm really into. I think I'm really excited about that. My commute sucks. I'd love to sit and read or plan out my day or do anything but drive.
I think there's some people doing that now in the non-self-driving cars.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. You know my route here, obviously.
I do. I think I've encountered a few of those people. That's so self-driving cars. That's pretty cool. You think that because that'll give you time back and a little bit of mental freedom too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How about you, Cameron?
I think the singularity in our new robot overlords, I'd like to take a moment to thank them because they're coming. And
Chiron Beta Prime.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
I think humanity's going to change a lot in the next 30 to 50, maybe 100 years. And who knows? We'll see.
So, any particular invention within that? Is it mostly the control of the AI or something else?
I think like freeing humanity to be creative and not be burdened by the realities of what we exist in right now.
Like money, hunger, things like that.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
so more heading closer to that utopian world.
A little bit more, one step at a time.
That sounds a little different than what we hear in the newspapers.
And I think people would gain more too if they didn't have to go to work.
That's right.
So that's
right. They gave
win-win.
it, so it's a double win for you, right?
Yes.
You want to talk about tripling that company? It'll happen faster.
We all need more leisure time.
That is that works well. Well, as we wrap up, I want to ask: is there a certain thought or message that you'd like to leave with our audience? Anything that you want to share with them or feel would be helpful?
Yeah, keep going in the face of it all. That's really that. If there's one lesson that we've learned is you just have to keep going, and the ones that fail are the ones that can't do that don't have the fortitude to stick through the hard times.
Mm-hmm. It's going to get really great, and it's going to get really bad, and it's going to be up and down. And you just have to forward-looking, stick to your guns, and just keep on trucking, man.
Ride that roller coaster and hang on.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. Where can our audience find you to get some of these amazing products?
After 4 p.m. at the bar, but before then, it's dogmight.com, DOGMIGHT.com, COM.
Calm for commercial.
Yep.
All right, so they'll find you there, and I greatly appreciate you guys for being with us and being the very first interview of the Dreams Are Real podcast.
It's all downhill from here, dude.
You guys have been amazing. I love your products. I love that you guarantee them for a lifetime, the integrity and the passion with which you approach your audience, and the tenacity with which you follow your dreams. Thank you guys very much for being here.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you for joining us on the Dreams Are Real podcast. If anything we've said has inspired you to dream bigger, live more boldly, or move closer to your ideal life, please reach out and let us know. And also, be sure to share this episode with a friend. We would be honored if you would like, subscribe, or leave a review for our show on your favorite podcasting platform. And for more discussion of this episode and all things related to the Dreams Are Real podcast, and to receive your free download of Dan's Defining Your North Star training, please join our Dreams Are Real community on Facebook. Until next time, be amazing and keep crushing it.